with those drum beats and guitar riffs, that says that we are back. Yes, it's the Torn Quadcast, the only show on over-the-air radio that talks about sports entertainment, sports and entertainment, coming to you here live on tape on WRMN Talk Radio, as well as on the River Media Network. I am Elliot Serrano, your host, with always my co-host Mark Fishman. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well. I just got that RMN, River Media Network, so
Get it? Yeah.
it only took a couple episodes.
And it only took me a couple episodes to finally work it into the introduction, you know.
It's a work in progress, people.
Because it's actually River Media Sports. It's also the River Media Sports Network, too. Because we are part of the WRMN Cavalcade of Sports, I like to call it. WRMN, which is now the host, or the home, of Chicago White Sox baseball here in the Fox River Valley. So this year, if you want to listen to Major League Baseball, we're going to be broadcasting it here on WRMN over the air exclusively. Unfortunately, we can't, because of the MLB contract, we cannot stream it on our app, on our Facebook page, or here on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, it is exclusively over the air. So if you are a White Sox fan, and I know, a lot of folks are going to be like, oh, but it's the White Sox. They weren't that great that last year. Hey, can I tell you something? First, it's baseball. White Sox fans are incredibly devoted, very passionate, and I want to hear from those die-hard White Sox fans, because I am tired of people crapping on the White Sox on social media and this, that, and the other. Look, if you're a die-hard fan, you support your team through thick and through thin. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong. And Chicago is a passionate city. I don't think people lapse on a team. They don't give up. They just get madder and go home. So they've reached that point where they can't get any madder or go home more. So it's only up from here.
I.e. the Chicago Bears.
You bet. If you didn't hear, I hate to jump in on a stupid story, but man, I just saw it today. They took the players, I guess, all had they all met. There was some big conference thing, and they all got to vote about certain categories: favorite player, best player, whatever. Matt Eberflus won worst coach of the year.
Oh yeah. That's unfortunate. It seems like the Matt Eberflus coaching, what was it? Coaching administration. Era? I don't know, era. Well, let's just say it was leakier and it was as well received by the players as this current presidential administration that we have right now.
Yes, but the cool thing is, Coach Eberflus will react to this in about 3 or 4 weeks when he finally realizes it. He's still watching the clock.
Hey, he's still getting a paycheck.
I know.
If I was getting a guaranteed check for I don't know, 8 or 9 million a year, I don't know. I think that's what he was being paid there for a bit.
More than you and I.
Yeah, and even without having a job, you were still getting that check.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I hate seeing people getting fired. Hey, I was laid off myself. I am currently unemployed. But if I knew I had a check coming into me from my former employer, even though I wasn't working for them, trust me, I would not expect you to cry any crocodile tears for me.
No, and you know what? I'm sure, again, he'll land on his feet. There's no amount of Pee Wee Football League teams that need to learn, and he is going to be right there to hunch up that defense, because he's not getting a head coaching job, but he'll be a great defensive coordinator, maybe at the junior high league, possibly high school if he keeps his nose clean. So
He'll be at an NFL team at some point. I have a feeling that he's going to turn up as a defense, as you said, a defensive coordinator at the NFL level.
They all kind of have,
college.
So they all kind of have their camps and the lineage and stuff. In the same story I was reading, a thing about Eberflus, they were talking about the new coach for the Bears, Ben Johnson, and how he built his staff. And I appreciated his approach to it by not calling on his friends, but actually interviewing people from all parts of the league in trying to create fresh energy. So it wasn't just, oh, you're going to pick up all your toys from Detroit and move them. It was really like, no, I'm myself, and I'm going to bring in the people, and they're going to vie for these jobs. So I was excited for that. So same as with the White Sox fans, I'm excited for next year.
I'm going to be excited, and I don't want to have this our quadcast, which should be talking about sports entertainment, mainly pro wrestling, to be dominated by, again, baseball and football, mind you.
Muggle sports,
right. If you do want to hear talk about that, there is always the truth about Chicago sports with our boy Marcus Mack, as well as On the Rise with Derek and Mike Napolitano. You can listen to them on WRMN Radio on Saturday mornings. And there's a lot going on with our sports coverage, including the Chicago White Sox, as well as other teams around the Chicago area. We're going to be talking about the Schaumburg Boomers, King County Cougars. I know we want to expand coverage about the WNBA and the Chicago Sky. So, folks, if you want to hear about sports and the local teams here, you want to tune in to WRMN 1410 AM. All right, enough of that. Let's get into what people tune in to us for, and that's pro wrestling talk. We've been talking a lot about WWE these past few weeks, especially leading up to Elimination Chamber, which when this episode airs, I do believe when this airs, Elimination Chamber is probably going to be happening.
You'll be in the pre-show.
You'll be in the pre-show, right? So let's get into Elimination Chamber and what WWE has been doing to set up that premium live event, PLE.
Yes.
We said again, time and again, it's no longer pay-per-view. It's called Premium Live Event. What's been the big, and it really has nothing to do with Elimination Chamber, or at least the matches within itself, but a story plot line that's happening leading to WrestleMania. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, showed up on SmackDown.
Yep.
It was on SmackDown, right?
SmackDown.
Where he calls out Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, the undisputed World Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, although how can they be undisputed when you have another championship belt out there being held by Gunther?
No one else on SmackDown is disputing that he is the world champion.
Although Cody did beat Gunther at the Crown Jewel event in Riyadh. Whatever. So the undisputed champion is called out by the final boss.
Yes.
Dwayne Johnson, which, okay, I'm going to admit it. I like this incarnation of The Rock. I do like the final boss character. I think it's kind of cool. Although, not so crazy about him now, because he went from being there is all indication, even The Rock himself said in the post-show press conference, which when do you have a post-show press conference after SmackDown? He comes out essentially saying, oh, this storyline that we have going right now is not going to lead to a match. So he's not going to be wrestling Cody Rhodes, at least anytime soon.
So he says.
So he says. But it's setting up this whole thing where it's like the Faustian bargain, right?
I suppose, or, the whole thing felt, if you're a fan of 1989's Batman, this was Jack Palance grabbing the Joker, pre-Joker, Jack Napier, and just going, "You are my number one guy."
Well, mean, it's the whole playing on previous themes that we have seen. I even liked how just this past week on Raw, you had Seth Rollins coming out and trying to lecture Cody Rhodes on, if you accept the Rock's deal, you'd be, betraying this and doing that. And then Cody Rhodes calls him on, hey, wait a minute, weren't you like the corporate guy? I mean, weren't you, you when Triple H made you the champion, you were pretty much part of the authority, and it's like calling out Rollins on apparent hypocrisy.
Yes.
Which again, very clever if you ask me when it comes to the writing, the creative going on right now at WWE. Because, I mean, we've talked about this on previous shows. They are acknowledging certain elements of plot lines that have happened in the past, keeping things somewhat consistent, and not forgetting them like on an episode of Three's Company.
True. Now, this is a case, by the way, I'm about to get about 100 points from all the real marks in the audience. This is what you would call the pot calling the kettle Tyler Black.
Okay.
Yeah, had to go there. I mean, it's an interesting conceit. I do like that all wrestlers have short-term memory loss, or I guess in this case, mid-term memory loss about who's on whose side and whatnot. I'm a little suspicious. I mean, I think everybody kind of gets that rumbling feeling like Cody's kind of beaten all of the heels. So where do we go from here if you want to keep the belt on him? If there's nobody, and we'll get into the Elimination Chamber, who will determine the match against Cody, how this is going to reflect on where he's going to go. And there's this potential for a possible heel turn. If he does that, aligning with The Rock would make sense, because The Rock has always been at his best when he's been a heel, or at least anti-heroic. There's shades of gray when you follow his career. It's an interesting conceit. I'm willing to see where it goes, and I have to laugh because, as we will cover later in the show, the Elimination Chamber matches, as listed by WWE, includes the line, WWE Champion Cody Rhodes addresses The Rock's offer. So there's your whatever you want to call it, your piss break. Go get your beer. In the midst of all this. So, again, I'm curious, but for The Rock to have this faux press conference and say it's not going to lead up to a match, sure it's not. I mean, I'll believe it when I don't see it, I guess.
I mean, they're throwing a whole lot of elements into the mixer, so to speak. You can go in any direction. If anything, we learned last year in the lead up to WrestleMania, that they can kind of set something up, and if it doesn't work, they go in, they shift. I mean, last year, right after WrestleMania, I remember they made this big deal. I want to say it was either Raw or SmackDown, I don't know, where The Rock and Cody Rhodes have a meeting in the ring, and The Rock apparently handed Cody something that we never saw. He put it in his hand, and The Rock is like, oh, you know what this is, and just by feeling it, and so it's like they were dropping that little bitty plot point to maybe pick up later.
Well, there's that. There's also, I mean, there's a whole bunch of those, because you've also got Paul Heyman and CM Punk have some kind of whispered favor about something or other. So yeah, I'm hoping all the storylines have an agreeable ending. And obviously they're ramping up. This is their big season. They got to get themselves to WrestleMania. This is your last stop before you get there. This pay-per-view PLE Premium Live event is going to set the stage for what the big 2-night Las Vegas Mania is going to be. So I'm sure a lot of eyes are going to be on it.
It makes me think about, I remember when I saw Sheer Madness, for folks who aren't familiar. Sheer Madness was a play where you would go and you would watch essentially like it's a murder mystery that takes place in a beauty shop, and something would happen, and it would ultimately become interactive, because you would watch this whole thing play out on stage, and then you would get to the intermission, and at the intermission, one of the actors who played the quote unquote investigator. I didn't find this out till later because I was sitting in my chair the whole time, like at intermission, not realizing like my date went to go like to the lobby to go to the bathroom or something. I forget. The actor comes out, and then next thing you know, he's out there in the lobby with everyone who's been watching the show and getting their theories on what they think happened. And then he takes all that information and he brings it back to the cast after intermission. And then the second half of the show plays out where you get to, let's say, quote unquote, interrogate or talk to the cast and try to solve the mystery. And then building on everything that was brought back from the audience during the intermission helps mold how the mystery plays out ultimately.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's kind of what WWE is doing right now with everything leading up to WrestleMania. They're throwing out all these little things, and they're trying to see how people react to it, whether it's on social media, whether it's live, whatever is going on. They're trying to see how people are reacting, and that kind of directs where things are going to go. So maybe things that we thought were significant early on, they're like, no one cared about that. We're ditching that. We're pulling in something else. Oh, someone was talking about this. We're going to really jump on that, and roll from there. Which is why I'm like, this whole thing with whatever the object was between Cody Rhodes and The Rock probably is going to get forgotten. Who knows what's going to happen. I wonder if the WWE really even knows, or CM Punk really even knows what this favor is supposed to be. They're going to say, oh, wait, okay, we've got this favor thing now. What is it actually? Okay, we're going to pull this in, and let the plot kind of like figure itself out depending on how the audience is engaging with it. So, yes, a lot of stuff out there. And you were talking about the dirt sheets last week.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many people on social media, like giving their predictions or writing out what they think is going to happen. Someone put out like how the entire Elimination Chamber match for the women is going to pan out. And they're going, the moment you put that up, that means it's not going to happen.
Right. Well, somebody on that staff's reading it and going, okay, cool. No.
Okay, yeah. Now we can't do this. They were talking about how Bayley is going to win Elimination Chamber. Hey, for the person who wrote that, Bayley thanks you for screwing her out of the potential Elimination Chamber win, because it ain't going to happen now.
Still wasn't.
Yeah, it still wasn't. And I will say, though, in my opinion, the possibilities contained within the women's Elimination Chamber match intrigue me more than what's going on in the men's Elimination Chamber match.
Now, with that in mind, let's bring people up here. In case you don't know, the women in the Elimination Chamber match are Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez. So it is an interesting case. Now, there are 2 women champions, as there are 2 men, right? So we know that Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton are one lock, I suppose.
Is it? Has it been confirmed?
Well, I got to assume so, given how, Tiffany Stratton, by the way, elsewhere on the card, is partnering with Trish Stratus to take on Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Forgive me, I haven't been paying that close of attention, but if Tiffy, who is the champion, is in a tag match on this, then obviously she's not doing anything with her belt. I'll just safely assume that Charlotte will face her, since that's the natural storyline. So this other woman then is going to face Rhea Ripley, which is interesting given the field. Liv Morgan has already had a lengthy match progression with her already, so would you really go back to the well with that one? You've got someone like Bianca Belair, who I feel has kind of been knocking on the door forever, but they sidelined her with this whole tag team thing, and again, she got it over. She did great. Alexa Bliss has just come back. She's over like Rover. Bayley, the perennial boy we wish. And Naomi would be an interesting choice, simply because I don't think she's ever I think she's had maybe not even a mid card title solo, but she's definitely a hard worker and does great things. She had, again, the tag team run. And finally, Roxanne Perez, who's kind of like the rookie on the rise.
But what is the marquee matchup? I mean, we're talking about WrestleMania here. If you ask me, if I look at this particular field, I would lean either Bianca Belair or Alexa Bliss.
I'd have to agree. I mean, I'm going to side with Bianca Belair simply because, no offense to Alexa Bliss, but I feel she's in the back half of that career. And while she would be a great opponent, that's a mismatch where my ability to pretend that Rhea wouldn't just maul her starts to dwindle. And someone like Bianca Belair, I mean, she can take quite a bit of punishment. She's very strong, super athletic. That, to me, from a sports side of sports entertainment, would be the better match to have on that card.
Yeah, but then, again, we are in the Paul Levesque era, so he might not be worried so much about the face versus heel issue. I mean, who do you root for when it comes to Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley?
The thing is, I think that if you did that, it's okay because you have natural heel Charlotte going against Tiffy, who got over as this babyface. Having a match where it is kind of it's face versus face, I think kind of works in their favor by giving us something different. It gives us the option of a match that is truly competitive at an athlete versus athlete level, which I think Rhea, because of her look and the Judgment Day stuff and all the other storylines, she's been so storyline driven. It'd be cool to see her just do something where it's really just about who is the baddest bitch in the ring and let them go after it.
I agree. I hope WWE Creative feels the same way.
Yeah, because like I said, it's going to be a good match. They're going to get bloody. Please save Bayley.
And poor Bayley. She has been the workhorse of the women's division. She's been getting her flowers. I know Triple H has been recognizing her, has been giving her spots, and Bayley has been doing the most that you can with them. So, who knows? I mean, I don't know. Again, Bayley versus Rhea Ripley. Again, as much as I love Bayley and I respect her, is that the marquee matchup that any of these others would be?
Your natural story there would just be the, I'm in the prime of my career, you're not, ha ha ha, and how could you side with it?
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to take a break, but when we come back, we will be looking at the men's Elimination Chamber match, as well as other news around sports entertainment. We've got the debut of Ricky Starks, now Ricky Saint, as well as some of the other matches on Elimination Chamber at the PLE. So, yes, this is the Torn Quadcast with Elliot Serrano and Mark Allen Fishman. We'll see you after the break. Back. This is the Torn Quadcast, where we're talking about sports and entertainment. It's Elliot Serrano with co-host Mark Allen Fishman coming to you here on WRMN 1410 AM and the WRMN YouTube channel. Before we went into the break, we were talking about the women's Elimination Chamber match. Let's shift gears and focus on the men's match. We're looking at, here's the thing. A lot has been going into setting up this. So many plot lines have been going into setting this up, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's supposed to pay off at WrestleMania. It really feels like I'm not even sure WWE Creative is set on what's going to happen or where they want it to go.
It feels like Boggle. Just shake it and just slam it down and see what ends up. I mean, let me set it up, right? Here are your combatants. You have John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and Seth Rollins. So it's an interesting field here. And like you said, like everyone's got like a little storyline walking in. We know this is John Cena's last year. This is his last WrestleMania, as far as we know. CM Punk, permanent chip on his shoulder, demands that final WrestleMania main event before he goes off into the sunset. Drew McIntyre, forever angry. Logan Paul, forever a D-bag. Damian Priest, so happy to be there. Thank you, sir. And Seth Rollins, somewhere in between all of those storylines. He's kind of hemmed and hawed and poked at Punk. I think he also got in Logan Paul's face for a quarter of a second. You know, everyone's got a little bit of something here. I would turn to you and ask, much like the women, which of these is the headliner for your WrestleMania, though?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, to me, so we're running on the assumption that whoever wins this particular match is going to go up against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania.
That's been announced.
Right?
Yes.
So who are the headliners? I mean, to me, the two that make the most sense are John Cena and CM Punk.
Yes.
Those are the ones that make the most sense.
Correct.
And you know, mind you, would a Seth Rollins Cody Rhodes match bring the house down? Definitely.
It would be a great match.
It would be a great match. Yes. A resolution to the Drew McIntyre obsession over I got screwed over this, that, and the other, finally getting his main event at WrestleMania. Sure. But is it a main event? Is it a WrestleMania main event? I mean, unfortunately, and I hate saying these things because I have tremendous respect for all the talent that are in there. I mean, heck, even Logan Paul himself is a considerable talent in the fact that he kind of like has been in as a professional wrestler for as short a time as he has, and I guess now he's touting the whole I'm a full-time guy finally, blah blah blah. He
hasn't wrestled on TV, has he?
Well, he has. No, he did. He's wrestled a few times. Mind you, it's against the same guys over and over again, but he's there. I mean, if I got to see Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio again, I'm gonna be like, come on, okay, enough. Yes. We get it. But again, we're talking about who. This is going to probably be the second night of WrestleMania. It's going to be the last match of the two nights.
Yes.
To me, it's got to be either Cena or Punk.
It does. Yeah. And I'll throw this past you. I mean, if everyone's a fantasy booker in their own head, right?
Yeah.
And I look at the field myself, and I see two outcomes that I would be agreeable to. Number one, John Cena wins and gets that final WrestleMania headline. He'll put on a hell of a show. He'll lay down and do the honors. Or they're going to let him have one last big run. There's something natural with The Rock being involved because we know Rock and Cena have quite the history. And that would be an interesting turn versus Punk. There is some history between Punk and Rock, but it is very much on that part-timer, angry vibe. Uh, I would see if Cena doesn't win, I could see him and Logan Paul at Mania being a great feature match.
I see if Cena doesn't win, or I'm sorry. Yes, I agree. Although I have this feeling with all this preamble they've been doing over the Royal Rumble and on this last Raw, that they're trying to set up CM Punk Logan Paul.
I know they keep trying it, and it's not that it would be an uninteresting angle, but it's number one. Sorry, Phil, it's not a main event, and it won't be. So yeah, he's got to hold on another year if he wants to get that main event.
Which I can kind of see happening. I mean, I have this feeling that CM Punk, is like, all right, I'm here again to build everybody else up and do whatever else I need to do.
Yeah,
he said it himself. I mean, on interviews, like he hates seeing, like he himself said he hated when they did Rock Cena 2 years in a row.
Yes,
and which I get. Mind you, the average wrestling fan was into it.
It's. I think it's part of some of the booking they've been doing a little bit of mania to mania booking, knowing that you're uber casual fan may not even pay attention till Mania, so
right.
They're in for it. It is interesting. I will say, like, I feel sad for the back half of this group because Logan Paul's such a naturally hated heel. It is funny that he is IRL complaining that he's got all this go home heat. But hey, if you're sleuthy about it, you'll find out why. It is interesting.
You don't have to be that sleuthy.
Not that sleuthy. But, like, you look at someone like Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins. These are solid hands in the ring that deserve something going into Mania. You would absolutely hate to see them thrown into yet another triple threat match that has no real stakes. So, like, whatever the off-ramp is that comes out of this Elimination Chamber, because no offense to any of those guys, but seeing them win on paper, let's just be clear. Any one of these people versus Cody is good. Cody's a great wrestler, and he'll wrestle his boots off for any of these people, but it is where does the natural story lie? And that's why I think if, I'm placing a bet on FanDuel, which you shouldn't do, CM Punk would probably get my money for the aforementioned favor, for the fact that he and The Rock could go back and forth on the mic splendidly, and you could roll Cena off into a package with Logan Paul and have a great match that would be pure spectacle. You've got this guy on his last year going up against, this, I say I'm full-time, he's full-time hated. Cena is kind of the permanent cheeky baby face. I could see that working really well. And the rest of the guys, I'm sure we will find something to do. And just please, dear God, don't let Damian Priest have to face any more people from the Judgment Day. That's over. So let it roll. It's exciting. Like I said, I think it's like Royal Rumble. You don't really know who's going to win. So this is going to be super duper interesting. And I'm sorry, did I miss? Is Roman Reigns not in here?
No, he's not in the Elimination Chamber.
So they still have something to do with him for Mania.
Yeah.
So
there's been talk about Roman Reigns versus either Jacob Fatu or Solo Sikoa.
I hope Jacob Fatu, because no offense, I watched a bit of SmackDown, and Solo has got some more charisma than he's had. He's been working on the mic skills, which is great. But Jacob Fatu's got that weird X factor.
Man. I mean, can I tell you something? Jacob Fatu has exploded. When he had that one bit and he was squashing, I'm trying to remember who he was squashing. It was on Raw a few weeks back. I mean, we're talking he was beating the crap out of the guy, and like they did the bit where the officials run in and they're trying to keep him away, and Fatu came back and just did it again and again. And this was supposed to make Fatu like a uber heel. No, the crowd was chanting his name.
You know what he's got? I don't know what you classify this as, but it is reminiscent of young Brock Lesnar.
Oh,
So
yes. Yeah.
when he was a heel, but he was doing things in the ring that people had never seen, and he started to turn babyface, not because he was a babyface, but because people were so enthralled. Like, that's the thing about like the psychology of sports entertainment here, not to give it away, kids, but when you're a heel, you cannot do more spectacular maneuvers than your opponent.
True. That is true. And,
It is,
yeah.
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 It's
you're
why
right.
Ric Flair is better known for a poke to the eye than a sunset flip.
True. Or that bit where you throw him into the turnbuckle and he flips on his head.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of cool.
I mean, it's hilarious, but like that's, slapstick Daffy Duck. But yeah, I mean, it's why somebody like Triple H did so well as a heel, because the guy only knew how to put you in a headlock 18 different ways. Man could wrestle beautifully, but he knew not to throw splashy moves in there. And yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting where they go from there. I'll say that much.
And a final note on the Jacob Fatu thing is just that they've been showing more peeks into him as out of character.
Yeah.
Like they did this one bit. Again. I mean, I'm going to give Paul Levesque props that he's letting his talent kind of showcase themselves outside of the ring, outside of kayfabe. They're completely breaking kayfabe. And
Yes.
it's Jacob Fatu like calling his wife like from the hotel room and talking about what he does, after a match or what he's doing. If the guy isn't one of the most likable people you're ever going to meet, another one where he's like helping Lex Luger put his wheelchair into the back of the dude's van.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's humble, and he's, everything that is the opposite of, again, the
We're in a
werewolf.
we're in a postmodern world where it is okay now to acknowledge this isn't real. It doesn't have to be. And here's how we can get our talent over in new and interesting ways. They just announced, if you're fans of Dropout television, they do something called D20, which is a live Dungeons and Dragons performance. And the new season coming out is going to be featuring 4 WWE superstars playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's set in the ancient Grecian god times, and it is starring Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, completely out of character. Yes. But they're back to being baby faces, and Bailey and oh my god, I'm gonna miss the other. It's another one of the ladies, Chelsea Green, and they
I
are
love Chelsea. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I love her. I love
so
her.
they're all going to be playing
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons wrestlers who have to wrestle the gods to save the world. And it's, again, like, they just did the trailer. You can look it up. It's really unique, and it's exactly that. It's looking at these people and being like, now I like all these people, because you get a little bit of the person, not
And
just
I-
the.
Can I tell you something? I love the New Day as heels because they were able to flip that switch like that.
Oh yeah,
It really shows how good they are. That the fact that they got the crowd to turn on them so readily, and all they had to do was turn on Big E. That was it. And
Well-
the crowd turned on them, and
they have to wear their Majin Buu necklaces.
and they have that really great new theme song. I mean,
Yes.
so
They're absolute legends. They're absolute pros, and again, I'm looking forward to where they end up on the card and such. So
yeah, no,
good on them.
I love the New Day. No, I still love them, and I swear when people say start chanting "New Day sucks," I'm pretty sure I hear "New Day rocks" still out there.
It's still whispered. Everyone's waiting for like the return, and like for me, it's personally like, hey, is Big E all right? Are we going to get him back, or are we like saying this is it? Because that couldn't have been his flowers. That was just to get them to turn. We will have some kind of eventual push. So I'm excited for all of it.
I want Big E to come back and also be heel with them.
Oh, I mean,
that would be awesome. If you ask me, that would be awesome.
It would be awesome. That would be I would like to be in the writers' room for them to have to figure that one out.
Oh, easy. Because people forget that Big E was a heel when he first started.
Oh, absolutely. But the last time we saw him, he was basically being shamed out of the building by his two best friends. So what does he come back and he's like, y'all were right. Let's go punch some nerds.
No, he's come back and he goes, hey, thanks for the vacation, guys. Thanks for letting me have a little time away. You know?
I mean, it would be great if he just comes back and like he looks all sad and then he gets like a little evil grin, and then it would be very hard. Like they would basically have to take someone, but like Otis, they would have to literally murder Otis.
Oh, no.
Just
you mean like when the Wyatt Six apparently killed
Chad Gable.
Chad
Gable.
And then showed up the following week perfectly fine.
No, I'm thinking what the New Day would have to do is like, you know, the super evil concerto spot where you put the limb in through the steel chair and you jump on the chair. Yeah. They'd have to do that with every one of his limbs while they put a cheeseburger just out of reach of his mouth.
Oh, they're going to Hasselhoff him.
Yeah, they would have to Hasselhoff him. That would make sure that they still retain heel heat. Wow. And then 3 weeks later, they'd be back to babyface.
Or they can just blow him up in a limo. Like,
yes. Or have Big E give birth to a hand. Take your pick. They're all there.
Okay, so speaking of other things that make no sense.
Yes.
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in an unsanctioned match.
Which
is like, again, we're doing this whole thing where we're not insulting the intelligence of our audience by telling folks, okay, this isn't real. We know this isn't real. You're taking the leap with us. But if it's an unsanctioned match, why are you promoting it?
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, maybe somebody was like saying like there's no rules, or calling it a hardcore match or something. It doesn't look sexy. Unsanctioned sounds like it's going to be really, really gnarly. And you know what? Like, again, for these two guys, like at this point, I don't even think they've had a discussion. They will literally call the whole thing in the ring, and they just look for their time cue and call it a day. They'll give a 5-star performance. This is something that they have done up and down the roads for over a decade. This is a brilliant time fill. And my guess, this is either second on the card to keep people's interest or first to really pop the audience with a whole bunch of blood.
I mean, after the show that Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens put on, which was, as we said on the previous show, that was old school between those guys. They pulled out all the stuff that they did together.
Yes.
So you're right. I'm guessing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, hey, let's do it. Let's also pull out all the old tricks and turn it up a notch and show people what we can do. And it would make sense to have that be the lead off, the lead off match, because I can see after their match the crowd being like, whew, spent. So you kind of need something in there, either take the break, a long.
Oh, let's not mince words. They're gonna exhaust the crowd, and then comes that women's tags match that has no stakes at all.
Yeah, that would be a shame. Yeah,
it will be, but then they'll have the women's elimination chamber match. It'll get people back up, and then you got the men's. It'll close off somewhere in between there. Cody Rhodes will come in his finest suit, and we'll have some more cryptic blah blah blah. It'll be a great PLE, fully worth your $9.99.
Well, again, if you're on Peacock, I mean, Peacock costs me like $5 a month, and I'm getting
fully worth your $4.99. Sorry,
I'm telling you, I love it. I am going to be so sad when WWE renegotiates the PLE contract and they go somewhere else, like either Netflix or if they go to Paramount Plus, I'm not going to complain because it's finally my Paramount Plus subscription just renewed itself this month. I'm like, oh God,
lovely.
Bless it. I have no money to pay for all this.
Well, it sounds like you need one of those subscription killer app things that I get 50 commercials for. I don't remember them.
This is the Rocket Mortgage bit.
Yeah, there you go.
You talked about the women's tag team match. Hey, I got to tell you, I was surprised when I saw Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez pull it out on Raw.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Mazel Tov. Good for Raquel Rodriguez. She's been working hard. It's good to see that they'll put a belt on her. I have to cry a little foul. It's a little stupid that your women tag champs splits off so that one of them can go in the elimination chamber. Kind of shows like you don't have a women's tag team division, WWE. But hey, they're there. It's something to fight over eventually. This probably marks up a nice spot for them on the WrestleMania card somewhere. And I think what this does more importantly is it sets us up for what happens now with Bianca Belair, with Naomi, and a returning Jade Cargill. So you've got now some natural stories that will pop up from that because Jade wasn't there to lose those titles. She was part of the whole free birding of those tag teams. So it'll be an interesting, like, hey, now, does she come back as the heel? Do we get some good matches out of this? Plus, you've got whoever wins the Elimination Chamber getting in there as well. So it's all a good setup. So, hey, I mean, you got to change champions, and doing so on television is always a good idea because it tells your audience, hey, the TV show matters too. Like, stakes occur.
I'm surprised that Triple H hasn't decided to just introduce a 6-man tag team division. Because you mentioned the Freebirds. Remember the Von Erichs? You know?
Oh, yeah.
And as they're going, wait, that's 3 guys. That's
it. You know what? And I watch how we slowly slip into the one bit of AEW news today. But like AEW does have a triple belt, and it is almost never defended. And it is half forgotten, and it's the perfect spot for a Freebird rule. Like, I actually like the idea of triple belts for large faction-based leagues, but there are no giant factions in the WWE right now because your Bloodline blew all apart, and your Judgment Day has got 3.5 working wrestlers, I think, left. So a triple
Testament is like out of it. We haven't seen
right. So like you don't have enough to sustain it, even though they have a massive roster. It's all part of my personal stake, to blow the candle out and beg somebody there to just unite all your belts, make champions floating between the shows, and you would be so much better off.
Well, if WWE Creative has been watching, Mark,
we know you're out there.
We know you're
yes.
out there. All right. Well, yet another episode of the Torn Quadcast comes to a screeching end. At the end of this episode, you can just flip over to Peacock and watch the Elimination Chamber and see if what we were talking about made any sense.
It should.
It should. All right. For Mark Allen Fishman, I'm Elliot Serrano. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with the results of the PLE and more talk about sports entertainment, sports, and entertainment.